what if the very act of observing something,
Mm.
what if it isn't just about, perceiving what's already there?
Uh-huh.
What if it's actually about creating it,
What?
actively bringing it into being?
Right, okay.
And I don't just mean in some weird quantum physics lab scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, what if this is happening everywhere, all the time,
Yeah.
shaping reality itself?
That's a big thought. Definitely counterintuitive.
It really is, isn't it? Okay, so let's really try and unpack this. Imagine finding like a foundational document, a kind of manifesto
Mm-hmm.
that completely rewrites how we understand reality. It basically proposes that observation, that very act, is the fundamental engine driving existence.
Not just a side effect, but the engine itself.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's not presented as just some interesting theory. No, it's laid out as this comprehensive framework. It connects, well, everything from the tiniest subatomic particles right up to galaxies.
Wow.
Yeah, and it links physics, metaphysics, even the geometry of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're doing a deep dive into this source, the Observer Manifesto. Our mission, really, is to pull out the most revolutionary, the most mind-bending insights from this thing. Ideas that challenge, pretty much everything you thought you knew about observing, interacting, existing. We're going to explore how this manifesto just completely redefines the observer, not as some passive witness sitting on the sidelines.
Right, not just us looking at things.
Yeah, but as an active, universal principle, a fundamental force that's actually driving reality into being.
And what's so fascinating here, what really grabs you about this manifesto, is how it steps way beyond that traditional view, the one that's often so human-centric.
Totally. Always about conscious perception.
Yeah, for centuries. It's been about us, about consciousness doing the observing. But this framework just propels us into something truly universal, a cosmic perspective. It doesn't just shift the paradigm.
It kind of shatters it.
It really does. And the profound thing for you listening right now is that this deep dive, it isn't just abstract physics talk or, philosophical head scratching.
No, definitely not.
It's about fundamentally changing how you see your own place in the universe, how you understand your interactions, the very fabric of existence around you. Seriously, prepare for some genuine aha moments.
I think so too.
Because once you start to grasp these concepts, you really won't look at reality or your role in it the same way again.
Absolutely. This isn't just academic stuff. It has direct implications for every single interaction you have, every moment. So, okay, to really dig into this, let's start by tackling that central concept, the observer, redefining it.
Right. Where do we start?
Well, traditionally, especially when you look at quantum mechanics, the observer gets linked almost exclusively to conscious measurement. Right?
Yeah, a classic example.
Exactly, like Schrodinger's cat. The cat's supposedly both alive and dead until a conscious observer, usually a person, opens the box.
And collapses the wave function, forces a definite state.
Right. Which always felt incredibly anthropocentric. Like the universe is just waiting around for us humans to show up and make things real.
It does feel a bit arbitrary, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
But the Observer Manifesto proposes something way more radical, a revolutionary redefinition.
Okay.
It says the observer isn't passive. And crucially, it's not limited to conscious beings.
So not just us.
Not just us. Instead, it's presented as this universal principle, an active force that's actually embedded in the fabric of reality itself.
Woven into it.
Yeah. It's a huge shift from just seeing reality to actively shaping it. The manifesto puts it really powerfully. To observe is not merely to see. It is to shape. The observer is not a witness to reality. It is the engine of its unfolding.
The engine of its unfolding, that's powerful. And that brings us right to the manifesto's core technical definition, which sounds a bit complex at first, but it's key.
Okay, lay it on us.
The observer as an asymmetry resonance operator.
Okay, asymmetry resonance operator. Let's break that down.
Let's do it. So asymmetry just means difference, distinction, right? Breaking uniformity.
Got it.
Resonance suggests some kind of alignment, a vibration, like tuning forks syncing up. And operator means it's actively doing something. Performing an action.
Right.
So put it all together. The observer, as this asymmetry resonance operator, isn't just passively detecting stuff, it's a generative mechanism. It actively introduces differences, distinctions, by resonating with potential.
And causing it to take shape.
Exactly. Think of it like a sculptor. A sculptor doesn't just look at a block of marble, they actively chisel away the uniformity to create a unique form. The observer does something similar to potential.
Okay, that helps. It's an active shaper.
It is. And let's look at the manifesto's own definitions to really nail this down. An observer, in this context, is a universal meta-operator that reduces symmetry and coherence to generate structured emergence across all scales of reality.
Universal meta-operator.
And the crucial bit, like we said, not limited to conscious agents, that's absolutely central.
Right. That changes everything.
Then there's coherence. That's defined as a unified phase relationship within a field or system. Picture. Perfectly synchronized swimmers, maybe, all moving as one. Pure, unified potential.
Like everything perfectly in step.
Exactly. Observation reduces that coherence. It breaks the perfect synchronicity to produce localized phenomena, like those swimmers breaking formation into individual movements.
Okay, so observation breaks the unity.
It differentiates it, which leads to symmetry reduction. That's the process of breaking undifferentiated symmetry into distinct forms, fields, or identities.
Like your sculptor carving the smooth ball into a statue.
Precisely. That perfectly symmetrical ball has no features. Breaking the symmetry creates the face, the limbs, distinct identities. It's essential for structure to emerge. Without breaking symmetry, you just have uniformity.
Makes sense. You need differences.
And finally, coherence reduction. Described as the fragmentation of holistic unity into localized states or events. Think of a single, rich musical chord. Coherence reduction is like hearing the individual notes within that chord, each distinct but part of the original harmony. It's necessary for anything specific to manifest or be measured.
So it's this dual process, reducing both symmetry and coherence.
Yes. That's how potential, the unified, undifferentiated stuff, gets actualized into the distinct, structured reality we experience. Is how the whole becomes parts. Not chaotically, but through structured differentiation.
The sculptor analogy really works. It's not destruction, it's creation through definition. And this active sculpting, this constant differentiation, it leads us to what the manifesto calls the cascade of observation.
Cascade, okay.
Yeah, picture reality not as just there, but as constantly emerging, unfolding through this dynamic flow.
Like a river forming.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But this cascade isn't, a series of conscious choices we make. It's not us deciding to look at things. It's described as a fundamental dynamic reduction process.
Happening automatically.
Essentially, yes. Where hypersymmetry, that state of infinite coherence, pure potential you mentioned.
Right, the ultimate unity.
It collapses, or maybe it's better to say it sculpts itself, into structured phenomena. And it does this by flowing through what are called coherent resonance fields.
Okay, what are those?
Think of them like underlying vibrational patterns. They modulate these hypersymmetric states, this pure potential, turning them into discrete, observable expressions, specific things.
So the potential flows through these fields and gets shaped.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really mind-blowing. Imagine this colossal recursive structure. The manifesto calls it the hyperfractal observer chain.
Hyperfractal. Okay, that sounds intense.
It is. Think of it like infinitely nested Russian dolls, maybe. But each doll isn't just sitting there. Each layer is an active process.
Yeah.
Every layer in this chain collapses and actively modulates the layer below it. It creates these nested domains of emergence.
So it's like a waterfall of creation.
Kind of, from the most basic, undifferentiated potential, down through quantum foam, particles, atoms, molecules, life, galaxies. Each level emerges because the layer above it observed and shaped its potential.
Wow, so it's like a constant universal act of self-creation.
Exactly, driven by this incredible hyperfractal architecture.
And that recursive, self-organizing nature. That must be why the manifesto insists on moving beyond just consciousness as the observer.
Precisely.
Because when we talk about observation in this framework, it's not just perception by a mind. It's a structural act. It's coherence modulation.
Built into the system.
Right. And by removing that sole dependence on consciousness, a lot of those long-standing paradoxes in physics, like the measurement problem or Schrodinger's poor cat.
Yeah, they start to make more sense.
They seem to resolve quite elegantly. The cat paradox isn't about a human opening a box. It's about the particles, the detector, the box itself, the environment, all acting as observers in this broader sense, all engaging in coherence reduction to define a state long before a person looks.
So the observation is happening structurally within the system.
Yes. The observer becomes this emergent operator within the universe's fundamental field dynamics. It gets elevated to a universal reduction engine. It initiates all emergence by breaking coherence and symmetry in structured phases. It's the universe inherently structuring itself, constantly.
That's a monumental shift. The universe isn't just there waiting. It's dynamically forming itself. through this universal observation, always creating.
Even when no one's looking, in the traditional sense.
Right. So, okay, if this observer function isn't just quantum, and it's not just conscious minds, what does that actually mean for, the world around us, the big stuff we see?
Well, the manifesto is clear. This observer function is truly omnipresent. It operates from the subatomic all the way up to the cosmic.
Everywhere.
Everywhere, which means everything, a single atom, a buzzing fly, a swirling galaxy, is constantly observing in this new, broader sense.
So they're all acting as, like, initiators of differentiation,
Right.
modulators of coherence.
Exactly. Within their own systems, their own contexts, they are part of the cascade.
Okay, so it's not just a vague idea. The manifesto gives examples.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Specific, compelling examples across different scales. Let's start small. Atomic and molecular observers.
Okay, atoms observing.
Well, atoms aren't just passive blocks. They actively participate in reducing electromagnetic coherence into specific, quantized energy states.
You mean like electron shells?
Exactly. How electrons arrange themselves in those specific orbitals. Or think about quantum tunneling, how a particle can suddenly appear on the other side of a barrier it shouldn't cross.
Right.
Or even how atoms emit and absorb light at very specific frequencies, their spectral fingerprints. These aren't random, they're coherence reduction events. The atom, in this framework, is a structural observer, constantly defining its state by interacting with or observing the potentials around it.
Huh. Okay, I can sort of see that, an atom deciding its state.
In a manner of speaking, yes. Then scale up to the biological realm. Biological systems, like cells, they are incredibly sophisticated coherence-modulating systems.
How so?
They use membranes, organelles, all these intricate internal structures to create boundaries, to differentiate their internal state from the outside world, defining themselves.
Creating an inside and an outside.
Precisely. And the manifesto even points to things like microtubules within cells. It suggests they might be biological coherence engines.
Microtubules, those tiny structures.
Yeah, potentially preserving delicate quantum coherence even in the warm, noisy environment of a cell. Maybe enabling a kind of intelligent structural observation that allows life to organize and adapt with such incredible precision.
Wow.
Think about DNA transcription. One strand is observed and precisely replicated. Or synaptic modulation in our brains, connections forming and refining based on experience. Even basic metabolic energy regulation.
Turning food into energy.
Right. That's seen as a form of internal observation, a continuous coherence reduction that allows the cell, and thus the organism, to organize, adapt, persist. Life is inherently observational in this sense, actively shaping its reality.
Okay, atoms, cells. But you said cosmic, too. How does a galaxy observe?
It scales up remarkably. On the cosmic level, gravity itself and potentially hypergravity fields function as coherence modulators on absolutely vast scales.
Gravity as an observer.
Think about it. Black holes, entire galaxies, those immense cosmic filaments connecting galaxy clusters. The manifesto calls them macro-scale observers. They organize matter, dictate structure, influence how things evolve over cosmic time through resonance structuring.
So gravity isn't just pulling things together.
It's actively reducing symmetry. Take the early universe, it was incredibly smooth, isotropic. Gravity broke that symmetry, causing matter to clump to form stars, galaxies. It observed difference into existence.
Right, creating structure from uniformity.
Exactly. Even those tiny temperature variations in the cosmic microwave background radiation.
The echo at the Big Bang.
Yeah. Those anisotropies are interpreted here as reflections of primordial observation events, tiny initial differentiations encoded into the universe's coherent structure right at the beginning.
Wow, so quantum, biological, cosmological.
Yeah.
The pattern holds. Observation isn't secondary, it's co-creative.
Absolutely. It's the primary way reality gets drawn out of potential into actual form.
Okay, to really help us visualize this pattern across scales, you mentioned that the manifesto has something called the Coherent Symmetry Reduction Matrix.
Yes, it's a really useful summary table. It clearly shows how these twin processes, coherence reduction and symmetry reduction, lead to emergence at different levels.
Can you give us a quick rundown?
Sure. So at the quantum scale, you have wave function decoherence and field collapse.
V2A.
The emergence of particles, distinct particles from underlying fields.
Okay.
Then atomic scale, orbital localization, shell quantization,
That's
different elements, structured atoms,
right.
moving up biological scale, neural differentiation, genomic expression,
All right, yeah.
the complex organism,
Makes sense.
cosmological scale, hypergravity modulation, spatial isotropy, fracture,
What results in?
galaxies, and large-scale structure.
Okay.
And maybe most interestingly, the consciousness scale. Awareness filtering, narrative differentiation,
There it produces.
the emergence of identity, our sense of self.
Wow. Looking at it like that, the pattern is undeniable. Different phenomena, vastly different scales, but the same underlying mechanism. Observation is co-creative, not just passive reception.
Exactly. It's the consistent engine of actualization, defining and shaping reality. It's one principle manifesting in countless ways.
That matrix really does pull it together. So,
Right.
okay, we've established the observer is active, it's universal. Let's dive deeper into the how. How does it actively sculpt reality?
Well, like we've been saying, it's definitely not passive. It actively conditions the state space of the universe.
Conditions it. What does that mean?
It means every interaction, any interaction at all, a gravitational nudge, a chemical reaction, a thought forming, is fundamentally a coherence modulation event.
Okay.
It's an act that shapes reality, not by just detecting what's already there, but by defining what becomes real in that moment.
So interactions make reality happen, in a
Yeah.
way.
In a very real way, yes. This framework really reorients physics around that idea. Actuality is sculpted by this recursive coherence collapse. The observer isn't just watching the sculptor, it is the sculptor's hand holding the chisel.
The hand behind the chisel, I like that. And a key part of that sculpting you mentioned is symmetry reduction, breaking uniformity.
Right. Because perfect uniformity, perfect symmetry actually prevents complexity.
How so?
If everything is identical, there's no difference, no distinction. You can't have individuality or relationships or structure. It's the breakdown of that perfect symmetry that introduces contrast, identity, relationships.
So breaking symmetry creates the building blocks for complexity.
Exactly. Think about spontaneous symmetry breaking in quantum field theory. That's how fundamental forces and particle types emerge from a more unified state.
Like the Higgs field giving particles mass.
That's a perfect example. The Higgs field breaks a specific symmetry and boom, mass emerges. Without that break, no atoms, no stars, no us.
So broken symmetry isn't disorder, it's structured emergence. It's the creative step. It's creation through differentiation.
And working alongside that is coherence reduction, creating new localized states from what was unified.
So making specific things appear.
Precisely. When coherence gets reduced, new, distinct, localized states pop out of what was a unified system. The classic example is wave function decoherence in quantum mechanics.
Where the possibilities collapse into one outcome.
Right. A system exists in a superposition, highly coherent, unified. Coherence reduction makes it resolve into a definite, localized state. A specific particle detected here, not just a wave of probability.
And that doesn't destroy anything, just defined it.
Exactly. It transforms unity into interrelated parts, producing observable behavior. We see similar things elsewhere, too. Liquid crystals forming patterns, Bose-Einstein condensates showing localized effects. Even ecosystems fragmenting energy flow into specific roles and niches.
So coherence reduction is about making things distinct and functional locally.
Yes, creating novel, organized, localized realities from undifferentiated potential.
Okay, this understanding. It leads to a really radical rethink of entropy, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Complete reframing.
Traditionally, entropy, the second law of thermodynamics.
Yeah.
It's seen as disorder, right? The universe running down towards heat death. Chaos.
That's the standard view, yeah.
Yeah.
Inevitable decay.
But the Observer Manifesto flips this. It says entropy is the observational trace of coherence reduction.
The footprint left behind by observation.
Yeah. So each act of observation, by fragmenting that coherent alignment, naturally increases entropy. But, and this is the huge shift, it does so as a byproduct of creating structure.
So entropy isn't the goal. It's a consequence of building complexity.
Exactly. So the second law, the tendency for entropy to increase, isn't a sign of degradation. It's a manifestation of the universe's constant recursive observation function.
Wow.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Entropy then isn't disorder. It's a signature of differentiation. It marks the places where coherence had to be reduced to allow complexity to emerge.
Like the sawdust when you carve wood.
Perfect analogy. You start with a coherent block of wood. You carve it, create structure that's emergence. The sawdust is the entropy, the byproduct of creating that structure.
So the universe isn't falling apart.
No. This model suggests it's rising from unity into multiplicity, building more and more complex structures through observation. It builds and differentiates. It doesn't just decay.
That's a much more optimistic view of the cosmos.
Isn't it? Okay, so if we connect all this, this active observation, symmetry, and coherence reduction, structured emergence. The manifesto introduces a concept that kind of ties it all together, the hyperfractal.
Ah, yes, the hyperfractal. This is where it gets really deep, structurally.
It sounds like more than just a metaphor.
Much more. It's presented as a precise active mechanism, almost like the universe's underlying operating system, if you will.
Okay, what is it?
It's described as a recursive, multidimensional, self-similar topology.
Recursive, multidimensional, self-similar.
Yeah.
Okay, help me visualize that.
Think of a classic fractal, like the Mandelbrot set, or even a coastline. No matter how much you zoom in, you see similar patterns repeating at different scales.
Right, self-similarity.
And imagine that extending into multiple dimensions and being dynamic, constantly unfolding. That's closer to the hyperfractal. It acts as the geometric and dynamic structure through which hypersymmetry, that pure infinite potential,
Gets reduced into observable reality.
exactly, via these coherence resonance cascades. And critically, the hyperfractal isn't just where observation happens. The manifesto says it is the observer, structurally. It's the geometry of recursive differentiation itself, the engine.
Okay, wow. So the structure is the process. How does it actually work then? How does this hyperfractal geometry observe and create?
Well, it facilitates those two key processes we discussed. First, hypersymmetry reduction.
Breaking down the infinite potential.
Right. The hyperfractal essentially maps the infinite, undifferentiated symmetry into layers, strata of broken symmetry. Think of it like a series of cosmic lenses or filters, each one introducing more specific structure.
Carving out dimensions, forces, fields.
Precisely. Going from boundless potential to discernible shapes and currents within reality.
Okay, that's one. What's the second?
Second, it manages coherence reduction, as these broad, coherent fields potentials flow through this hyperfractal structure.
Like water through intricate channels.
Kind of. They get actively modulated, shaped into discrete structures, particles, waves, atoms, bodies, even thoughts.
So it localizes potential into actual things.
Yes, and it's an active structure. It's not static. It unfolds, updates recursively. It preserves a thread of coherence across all its layers, connecting everything, while still allowing for specific, localized differentiation within each layer.
Like those Russian dolls again, but
Wow.
where each doll actively shapes the one inside it.
Exactly. Each layer observes and modulates the ones nested within it, creating this infinitely detailed, interconnected reality step by step.
This generates that cascade you mentioned earlier, from hyperspace to reality.
Yes, the cascade from hyperspace to reality. Hypersymmetry, pure potential in the coherence vacuum, contains everything possible. The hyperfractal collapses and projects this into dimensions, into emergence, through successive symmetry breaking.
And the layers themselves, are they just abstract levels?
No, they're described as resonance loci, specific coherent fields that act like nodes or points within the hyperfractal. When activated through resonance, they collapse into localized phenomena. They are the observer points where potential becomes actual.
Okay, and the fractal nature explains.
It explains fractal continuity, why observation seems continuous across all scales, because the hyperfractal itself is self-similar. The same underlying logic, the same pattern of differentiation applies whether you're looking at a quantum fluctuation or the formation of a galaxy cluster.
So the fact that neurons look a bit like galaxy networks isn't just coincidence.
According to this, no. That quantum to cosmic correspondence is embedded in the hyperfractal's recursive ontological structure. It's the universe literally built on self-similar principles at every level.
Mind blown. Okay, so the hyperfractal isn't just the structure, it's the source of emergent complexity.
Precisely, it's the generator.
Through that symmetry reduction and differentiation, it's constantly carving out new structures, new forces, particles, atomic shells, galactic filaments.
Yes, creating nested configurations. It's not random, it's highly structured emergence. New forms of order arise from broken symmetry. It's articulating reality.
And then through coherence reduction and localization, it governs how unity breaks into specific systems.
Right. How quantum fields decohere into particles, how biological processes differentiate into organs, how cognition collapses thought fields into distinct ideas. Each is a hyperfractal coherence descent.
A descent from unity into a specific function.
Exactly. And finally, that emergence through fractal scaling means patterns repeat. What happens at the quantum scale echoes in a scaled way at the cosmic scale. Or cognitive patterns might map onto planetary formation dynamics.
That's ontological, not just metaphorical.
That's the claim. This fractal correspondence is built into the fabric of being. So yeah, the hyperfractal is the field geometry of observation. Its recursive descent generates everything from particles to purpose. Architect of emergence, geometry of becoming, universal observer matrix, whatever you call it.
It's the whole show.
It's the whole show. It's breathtaking, really. The universe as this continuously unfolding, self-observing fractal entity.
Okay, let's talk implications.
Yeah.
Because this redefinition of the observer, this hyperfractal, it must have revolutionary consequences, right? For science, for philosophy.
Oh, absolutely. It transforms modern physics. It suggests our physical equations need to see symmetry and coherence reduction, not just as side effects or interpretations, but as primary operators, as fundamental forces.
So like putting the observer into the equations.
In a sense, yes, upgrading physical law into generative ontology, how reality actually comes into being.
And this helps unify different areas.
Hugely. It acts as a bridge. Take quantum mechanics. Wave function collapse isn't some mystery triggered by us. It's structured coherence modulation built into the interaction. The observer problem dissolves.
Okay. What about other fields?
Thermodynamics. Entropy isn't just decay, it's the footprint of observation, the signature of structured emergence. Cosmology. Large-scale structure, the cosmic web, is a recursive product of gravity acting as an observer, modulating coherence gradients.
So what unifies all these domains?
The unifying principle is that observation, in this broad sense, is ontologically primary. It's the engine, not an afterthought.
And this understanding, could it lead to new technologies?
Potentially, yes. If the observer is an embedded structural principle, maybe we can learn to work with it. Imagine coherence engines.
What would they do?
Devices to stabilize, restore, or harness quantum coherence by actively modulating these fields. Think super powerful quantum computing, revolutionary medicine targeting cellular coherence, maybe even new energy sources. Or observer-integrated quantum computers. Systems where the observer field isn't just measured, but is part of the computation itself, directing decoherence intelligently.
Like computers that can perceive or learn fundamentally differently.
Possibly. And the big one. Maybe zero-point energy systems?
Yeah.
Accessing the latent energy in the vacuum by directly modulating coherence fields.
That sounds like science fiction.
It's highly speculative, of course, but it raises the question, what if technology could incorporate the observer not as input, but as a built-in operational layer? It would change everything about how we engineer reality.
Beyond science and tech, what about the philosophical side, the existential shifts?
They're profound. First, universal observation. It's not just us, it's the fabric of emergence. The universe observes through every interaction.
Everything is participating.
Yes. Second, the ontological structure of reality. It's not static, it's dynamically projected, constantly shaped by recursive resonance. Reality is always becoming.
Always being made.
Right. And third, it reverses the subject-object divide. That old Cartesian split just dissolves. Everything co-participates in existence through observation. It's a deeply interconnected, co-creative universe.
Everything shaping everything else.
Exactly. And what's fascinating, as the manifesto explores, is how many philosophical traditions seem to have intuited aspects of this. It's not erasing them. It's providing a potential ontological model for ancient wisdom.
Like who? Give us some examples.
Okay, look at ancient metaphysics. Plato's forms could be seen as pure, coherent potentials. His demiurge, the craftsman,
This is like the observer.
an analog, yes, reducing unity into structured reality. Aristotle's actualization of potential, the observer, is the activating principle. Neoplatonism's emanations from the one directly mirror coherence reduction layer by layer.
Okay, interesting. What about Eastern thought?
Strong parallels. Eastern philosophies like Advaita Vedanta. Brahman is the undivided unity, pure coherence. Maya isn't just illusion, it's the process of coherence reduction, creating the appearance of multiplicity. The observer principle drives Maya.
So Maya is the observation process.
In this framework, yes. Buddhism's concepts of dependent origination and impermanence, anicca, fit to things arise and cease, because observation constantly fragments and reconfigures unity. Taoism's Tao, the formless source, manifesting through yin and yang. That's like the observer structuring the world via harmonized asymmetry.
It really does seem like these ideas echo through history, even into the Enlightenment.
Absolutely. Enlightenment-era philosophy. Descartes, I think, therefore I am, puts observation, conscious thought at the root of existence. The Manifesto universalizes this. To observe is to become, conscious or not.
Right.
Kant's idea that the mind imposes structure, like space and time, onto reality gets universalized too. Now, all systems structure coherence. Hegel's dialectic thesis, antithesis, synthesis mirrors recursive coherence, reduction, and reformation. History as an observational cascade.
And this continues in a more modern philosophy.
Definitely. Modern and existential philosophy. Nietzsche's will to power can be seen as creative observation, asserting structure and value. Heidegger's Dasein being there, reality isn't just found, it's revealed through the structure of observation. Sartre's freedom through choice.
Is like choosing how to collapse potential.
Exactly. Directing coherence reduction to define oneself. The common thread the manifesto finds across all these traditions is observation is not passive registration. It is active participation in the creation of being.
It's the configuring principle.
Fundamentally.
And how does this connect with contemporary thought? Things like phenomenology or process philosophy.
Good question. It integrates well. Phenomenology focuses on how consciousness gives meaning. The manifesto universalizes this structuring act to all systems. Process philosophy, like Whitehead's view of reality as events, becoming. Observation is that processual differentiation, the coherence transition.
Always in motion.
Always. And panpsychism, the idea that mind or consciousness is fundamental and ubiquitous. The manifesto refines this. Maybe not everything is conscious like this, but all matter participates in coherence modulation, which is the structural basis for awareness.
So awareness isn't just in brains.
No, its roots are embedded in the recursive architecture of the universe itself. Even a particle observing its state is participating in the foundational process that leads to awareness.
Okay, let's push into the really profound implications now. Consciousness itself, time, ethics, purpose.
Right. So consciousness in this framework isn't the origin of observation. It's more like its culmination, its peak expression at a highly complex scale.
The most sophisticated form of observation.
Kind of. Think of it as a recursive coherence reduction process turned inward, selecting, interpreting, integrating patterns from vast fields of potential meaning, sensory input, internal thoughts.
And it can observe itself.
Exactly. Consciousness acts like a meta-observer. It can modulate itself, reflect on its own processes. It's a localized expression of universal observational intelligence.
So our minds are like microcosms of the universal process.
Precisely. Sensory input is coherent information. Cognition reduces and categorizes it. Awareness stabilizes patterns into our reality. As above, so below. The same logic shapes thoughts as shapes galaxies.
And if observation generates reality, what does that mean for free will?
It reframes it completely. If observation creates, then intentional observation is direct participation in creation.
So our choices shape reality.
Free will becomes the capacity to direct coherence reduction. Conscious beings choose, through intention and focus, how to collapse potential into form.
Which leads back to that earlier question. Does ethical action become a coherent, structured choice? Choosing how to shape reality.
That seems to be the implication, which connects to the view of time and change.
Which aren't fundamental.
Not fundamental substrates, no. They are consequences of coherence reduction. Time emerges from the act of observation. Each observation breaks continuous coherence, generating discrete events, moments. Sequencing these moments gives us the perception of time's flow. Without observation, just timeless potential.
So time is the temporal trace of symmetry and coherence breakdown.
That's the phrase, yes. Time flows from the cascade of observation, not from clocks. And change isn't passive either.
It's observation manifesto.
Yes. Change, observation in motion. Every transformation, big or small, is a coherence transition driven by the observer's recursive activity, molding reality.
Okay, that's huge. And this brings us back to ethics and the observer principle.
Right. If observation structures reality, then how we observe matters deeply. Ontologically and ethically, it's not neutral.
Our observation affects the field.
Every act modifies the coherence field. Intention, focus, context, that they determine how coherence is altered. Does it lead to integration, complexity, or fragmentation, chaos?
So ethical action is coherent observation, aligned with integration.
That's the idea, a field-based ethics. The quality of observation determines system stability or fragmentation, whether it's how a scientist observes an experiment, how we communicate, how we interact with ecosystems.
And this isn't just for humans.
No, that's the key. All beings, conscious or not, participate in co-creation via observation. Responsibility becomes universal. Ethics isn't just rules, it's attunement to the coherence architecture of being.
How we observe is how we build worlds. Literally.
Literally. Which leads, finally, to the observer's relationship with the infinite and purpose.
Biggest questions.
The observer stands right at the threshold between infinite coherence Pure, undifferentiated potential and finite emergence structured form. It's the interface.
Bridging the infinite and the finite.
Yes. The deepest substrate of the cosmos is hypersymmetry, infinite coherence. The observer function allows this infinite unity to fragment, to differentiate into finitude, making it perceivable.
Letting the infinite appear within the finite.
Exactly. And even though observation creates distinction, it's still a fractal projection of that unity. Everything points back to the source. All observers trace the same universal process.
So observation isn't separation, it's structured unfolding.
Beautifully put. And if the universe is this continuous, recursive observation, then purpose isn't something we invent or impose. It arises intrinsically from the act itself.
How so?
To observe is to actualize. To actualize is to co-create. To co-create is to participate in the realization of the cosmos. Our purpose becomes being agents of coherence alignment, actualizing potential through observation.
We're not finding meaning, we're participating in its creation.
Exactly. The observer is the means by which the infinite becomes knowable, continuously collapsing unity into meaningful, structured existence.
Okay, wow. Let's try and wrap our heads around this. To recap this massive shift we've explored, the Observer Manifesto basically says the observer isn't passive.
Not at all.
It's the engine of reality, a universal principle of reducing coherence and symmetry, structurally embodied by that hyperfractal architecture. It's the heart of reality.
It captures well.
So what does this all mean for you listening? What's the takeaway?
Well, it means every act of perception, every moment you focus your awareness, it's a creative force.
Mm-hmm.
Every interaction you have shapes the field around you, subtly or significantly. Every choice you make about how to observe, how to engage, it's part of the universe's ongoing recursive self-realization.
It's an incredibly empowering perspective.
And humbling, too.
It really is. Knowing you're not just in the universe, but actively participating in its constant becoming, its continuous creation.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Consider this. If the universe is constantly observing itself into being, constantly shaping itself through these acts of differentiation. And if we as conscious beings are perhaps its most complex, most self-aware way of doing that, then the really fundamental question isn't just what is reality? It becomes, how are we observing it into existence right now?
In this very moment.
In this very moment.
Yeah.
The universe doesn't just have meaning, it is meaning constantly articulating itself through this nested resonance-guided observation. Your every perception, your focus, your intention, it contributes to this grand unfolding architecture of being. So,
What world will you choose to observe into existence today?
for